Hi there, I'm Paul Mitchell, leadership coach, author and founder of The Human Enterprise. Welcome to Mentoring with Mitch, where we answer your questions about leadership at home, in your organisation and in your community. And today we have a question from a middle manager in an insurance company. Let me read it to you. COVID has been tough. It certainly has. Yet we got through it. I thought things would get back to normal in inverted commas, whatever that is, but still find myself absolutely overwhelmed. How are other managers coping? Anyone you know that seems to be more in control? Well, that's a great question because it's not just to do with COVID. I think we all get that sense, that feeling of being overwhelmed from time to time. And first of all, thoughts are with you. I hope you're managing it a little bit better. And I mean that word managing sincerely, because in grief counselling, we often ask people to use the word when asking a question, how are you managing versus how are you coping? Because managing feels, you know what, there's things I can do to get back in control, whereas coping feels it's sort of being done to you. But the first thing, of course, in regard to managing is just to accept that you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. And it sounds to me that you're doing that, which is a great first step. Let me give you 3 strategies I find leaders that have a sense of a bit more in control and less overwhelmed that seem to be helping. One is what's called the Pareto principle, developed by Vilfredo Pareto back in the late 1800s. He was an economist, an Italian economist, and he found that 20% of the people in Italy owned more than 80% of the wealth. So it's become to be known as the 80-20 rule. I find it, as do other leaders find it, an incredible rule of thumb when looking at what you have to get through. What it means is that 20% of everything you do probably makes 80% of the difference. 20% of the phone calls that you make can make 80% of the difference. So these things are fractals. So if you have a look at the 20% of the 20%, it leaves 4%. In other words, what's the 4% of the things I do on a day-to-day basis that are going to make all the difference? What is the 4% when it comes to managing? It's probably one-on-ones with your people. What's the 4% when it comes to customers? It's probably keeping in touch. So I ask you to look at that 80-20 rule in everything you're doing day to day. The second principle is rule of threes. You'll often may hear this in regard to being a presentation technique, but I think it can work wonderfully well when we're dealing with overwhelm. And that is, in your system, whatever that might be, who are the 3 people you're going to call that day? What are the 3 things you're going to do? And just get through those and honour and acknowledge yourself for doing that. You can also use rule of threes in performance discussions. What are the 3 things maximum I need to give some of my people feedback on, good, bad or indifferent? Or when you're delivering messages or a keynote or a town hall, what are the 3 key messages I want to get across? And you might have some stories around them, but rule of threes is a great one for helping you focus, helping you feel less overwhelmed. And the final one, I won't spend too much time on this because we keep on coming back to it again and again and again because it works, and that is to be a great detective. What do we mean by that? You have to be a great CIA agent. You have to get your mind focusing on what do I control, resources, money sometimes, what can I influence, networks, people, and finally, what do I just have to accept that I can't influence and that's out of my control. A lot of your overwhelm, a lot of your sucking up of energy will be because you're focusing on things that you just can't control and can't influence, but you're not accepting them. That's a waste of energy and will get you into overwhelm. My dad had a great saying or a great piece of philosophy he used to share with us as a family. He would say, don't worry. And he said, why don't worry, Dad? Because if you can do something about it, do something about it. But if you can't do something about it, don't worry. So that's a great little summary of a CIA. So there we have it, 3 things. First of all, absolutely get where you're coming from. We're all feeling a bit of overwhelm at the moment, and let's put some hope out there. Let's put some strategies in place which will take a little bit of that feeling of overwhelm away from you and give you more of a feeling of control. And what were they? First of all, the 80-20 rule, then the rule of threes, and finally, be a great detective. CIA. What can you control? What can you influence? And what do you just need to accept? Hope this helps. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope that's helped, or at least given you a couple of first steps. And if you have questions about leadership, leadership at home, leadership at work, or leadership in your community, we would love to hear from you. Please visit mentoringwithmitch.com and we'll get through as many questions as we can. And also subscribe so you make sure you get to hear every episode. And importantly, if you've got friends or colleagues or even family that you think would benefit from hearing some of these answers or some mentoring with Mitch, please make sure you share with them as well. Until next time, find the passion, develop the skills, make the numbers, and make a difference.